Hello, this is Matt back for an update after it's been a good while. This is work I did in March. The last video I was working on laying rail through Circleville, and here I've gone north of Circleville and going through a long curve that goes around my center dividing wall. This section taught me some new things in that this is super elevated, about 4 scale inches, so it's banked. And I found that once you curve rail, because this is basically hand laying, I'm still using the Central Valley ties here. So I'd curve the rail ahead of time and then put it on the super elevated curve, and I found that the rail wouldn't want to sit flat into the tie plate seats. So as a result, I'm having to put many more spikes than I expected on the inside of the rail. These are just temporary, just micro-engineering spikes that I'm placing on the inside of the curve. There'll be enough there to keep it sitting flat. And then eventually at some point I'll come back around and put the permanent spikes in, which would be the very small 15 thousandths wire spikes that I've been building. Alright, so once this is complete, I'll start actually attaching some feeder wires. That's what I'm doing here. So right here I'm spiking the ties down in the vicinity of the holes I'll be drilling. So the Central Valley ties are connected by a web down one side under one of the rails. And once I had the alignment set up to this curve as I wanted it, then I spiked all those ties in place so I could cut that web out without the ties being shifted. Next, drilling through the Homosote. I got a long rod here to make sure it goes all the way through. The dust magically disappears. I'll show some more closer scenes on this later, but basically I'm just feeding it down. I'll bend a 90-degree turn on the top so that it's flush with the bottom of the rail. I'm joining all these feeders to the bottom of the rail. Easy to do when you're laying rail separately from FlexTrack is a little harder. Here it's simple. I just locate it, put some solder on it, and weight the rail down on top of the feeder wire and solder away. And then clean it up a little bit and it just kind of vanishes. So I'm setting up two of them right now. The inside, or I should say the rail facing me, is the yellow wire, and the rail on the inside of the curve is black wire. So all my circuits have black wire in common, and then the other wire is some color to make it easy to visually identify in the future. So this section through here is yellow and black combination. So here I'm just cleaning up some of the solder on those two joints I made, and like I said, we'll have some close-ups of what that looks like when it's done a little further in the video. Then move on to the next section. I have one feeder for every rail. Alright, so there's another section a little further down. Again, I'm spiking the ties to make sure they don't move once I cut that web out. Keep that out of the way. Get that set. And in some places I didn't have two feeders in the same place, depending on where the joint for the rail was. Okay, so I'm now locating the second one, and just giving a quick sight to make sure that the track is in fact tangent before I solder it in, because once these feeders are in, it effectively is a spike and it won't move too much once it's done. Alright, so I'm pulling a black wire there. I sized it real quickly, if you noticed, to make sure it was going to reach out to the front edge, because all my bus wires will be along the front edge of the layout, so it'll be easy to get to in the future if I need to. So I magically changed the shirt real quick there, and now I'm doing the bending of the feeder wires. I've bent it 90 degrees, both the yellow one to the left there and the black one here in front of us. Pull it down so it's just about 1/16 of an inch proud of the tie plate seats. Once that's in good shape, I'll put the joiner together up there and above my hand and weight the rail down so it's sitting tightly against that feeder. This makes it kind of a hands-free job. One more sight to make sure I haven't messed the alignment up. I'm using a paste flux right now. It's a water-based flux, which is new to me. I bought some liquid and paste and experimented with both to see which one I like. So that's what it looks like when it's done. It goes very quickly. and you can still see it there in the video. And then I'll go and nip that off, and once it's sceniced up, you'll see where the joint was. I'm sure I'll probably hate myself later when I can't find some feeder attachment. So once it's clipped off, it looks like that. So far, like, it's easy to do, and it also holds the rail down, so it kind of serves two functions. Okay, now we're in the other room, the room that Circleville's in. The track I was working on in the previous scene comes through the wall just behind my back here. And this will eventually go up to a second deck if I get to that point. The second deck will probably be Columbus. But here I'm working on a bypass that goes from the track that would be going upgrade to the second level. I've laid some new roadbed to bring the rail back down to the Circleville height. So this is a temporary bypass. At some point I'll lower this down to the Circleville level. It'll just be another track for the industries locally. Here I'm using Atlas track because since this is not considered a permanent alignment, I don't want to spend the time to do the Central Valley hand laying approach. All right, then I'm using oscillating saw to give myself clearance. Earlier you see me there using the clearance card by minimum scale models. It's basically 3 NMRA gauges on one common frame. You use that to make sure you have clearance in all your tight spots. And I've learned when making videos of other folks' layouts that you've got to make sure you leave clearance, because at some point a train will run into something in a really uncomfortable spot. All right, again I'm using the Atlas here. This is all recycled Atlas track that took off from a layout I tore down 3, 4, 5 years ago now. When I built that last layout, I started doing things a little differently with the Atlas track. Because one rail is loose, I would just let that slide into the flex before that. So because of that, my joiners are never right in line with one another, which makes for a much smoother curve. Now I'm a little further down and working towards the golden spike, so to speak. And you see I did a magic shirt change once again. Here I'm just cleaning up that recycled rail. Yeah, I'm a fan of the Atlas track because of that ability to slide the rail into an adjoining section. It's not the best looking track, but it's functional and very bulletproof. All right, here is the last 4 feet or so going in. And if I recall, I just happen to have a piece of flex, it's probably about 2.5 feet long, that fit the last section perfectly. I think I have maybe a 3/16 gap and a little less than that, 3/32, I should say. Love when that happens. After the shirt change, I'll finish up this last section. Get attached, and that will make for a complete loop. So this looks like a double track main line right here, but this is actually 2 sides of the same oval. Once it's done, so it's just a temporary scheme so that I have ability to run trains sooner. Here I'm using the Surfform and my oscillating saw again to lower a high spot. Easy to work with on Homosoap. And finishing up, and that's about it for this update. Next month is going to be more wiring. Thanks for watching.